And so we think about ways that we can alleviate their stress. Also, to older students, failure following high effort appears to carry more negative weight. If that student says, I stayed up to 12 o'clock last night studying for this test and all I got was a 50. I don't know what's wrong, but I've had it. I'm not doing it anymore. Do you think you have those students that they just what? I tried so hard to do it, but I just can't do it, so what's the point in trying? And their teachers look for strategies and ways to know who that student is and to intervene in a way that alleviates some of that pressure. Here we see a comparison between examples of high efficacy and what? Low efficacy. And a couple examples there, bullets of high efficacy. We see that students who have a high amount of efficacy don't have problems accepting difficult challenges. You know, they may know it's hard, but it's, you know, it's so what? I just dig down and I get it. They, you know, even if they fail, it doesn't destroy the confidence that they have in their ability to learn. You know, you may have stumbled in one area, but it doesn't mean you don't know the other information. But to the student with low efficacy, we see that any failure is just a chance to what? Completely give up. And so we have to be mindful of those students who have the high efficacy versus those who have very little or low efficacy, because each student, whether with high efficacy or low efficacy, is going to be impacted in terms of how they engage in the classroom and whether or not they succeed at the academic challenges. Can we increase it? Or once it's low, it stays low? Can we increase self-efficacy? Yes. Yes. How do we do that? Provide more success in learning. Simply give students an opportunity to be what? Successful. And you know, when students come to the classroom, there's a standard and there are instructional objectives that all the students must meet. But you, as educators, know that there are many ways to teach that standard. There are many ways to meet that objective. So do you have to write the same task for every child? No. You can vary that. How can you reduce the uncertainty about learning outcomes? You know, when you're in college, what do you get at on the first day of class? Syllabus. What's on that syllabus? It tells you what is expected. It tells you what you need to do to get the A, doesn't it? And you know if these things are expected, and if you do none of them, what's the outcome? You're going to fail. Now, can we do things like that in the regular classroom? But we don't necessarily call it a syllabus, do we? What do we call it? Rubric. And we've been encouraged to use rubrics for how many years? Many years. And is there one way to write a rubric? No. Can you involve your students in writing a rubric for an activity? Sure you can. All right. And so that way the student knows exactly what is expected and what needs to be done in order to get the outcome that they would like to have. Also, we can teach students to monitor themselves. Can a rubric help them do that? Yes. All right. What about helping students setting personal best goals? How can we do that? Let's drop down to elementary school. Spelling test every Friday. 20 words. Last week I made 75. So far that's been my highest grade. Is that my personal best? Right now what? it is. Now, if we say, you know, if you study these, if you write these words once every night, your spelling scores will improve. So if he does, we might see what, 80 next week. But it's about the student looking at the best they've done and coming up with a goal that will help them to do better or to improve that. When we talk about personal best, we're talking about what is personal to what? A student. The same goal may not apply to every student. There's some competition involved, but who is the competition with? Self. 75 is the highest score I've earned on my spelling test. But I want to get to the point where I make an A. So I am competing with myself. I want to improve my personal best. And as the personal best is improved, then it becomes self-motivating, because success breeds what? Success. Now, in another area for cognitive engagement that we really need to look at, and that's we need to look at ways to provide options for sustaining effort and persistence. Do we have those children who says, I'm not doing it, it's too hard. Look at all this. There's 150 pages in this book. I don't want to read 150 pages, I want to read 25, okay? But so how do we get the child to improve the way or the amount of time and effort that they can put into that task so that they complete the task? What have we talked about? What word keeps popping up here with us so far? Rubrics. Simply because the rubrics states the expectation, and you know what is needed in order to get a desired outcome. So we can use rubrics to make the criteria and the expectation for any assignment, and that way the student knows clearly what is expected. Again, we can provide different levels of learning: beginner, intermediate, and advanced. Support the vocabulary. Do all children come to the classroom with the same kind of vocabulary? No. What is the one factor that influences comprehension more than anything else? Vocabulary. So can we, on a writing assignment, you might show a difference in those different levels of learning, because you can provide a word bank to some and not to others. Maybe I don't need a word bank. Maybe Ann does need a word bank, because in that classroom many times you have students of varying abilities. What do you do with the SLD student in there? Could you provide a word bank for that child? Sure. Cooperative grouping, that's another way to keep children on task, because they're often fueled by their peers. They're less likely to give up if they don't have to bear the burden of the whole answer. Then here are 3 of us here together, and so each person has to contribute something so that we come up with one solution.